In the morning, my wife was on her knees after I kicked her out for secretly going to a party, despite my opposition. Be me, 32-year-old, married to Emma for years. Thought we had a solid relationship. Emma mentions going to a party with her friend Olivia. Something feels off about it. Olivia, known for wild parties, can't shake the uneasy feeling. Night before the party, I confront Emma. I don't think you should go, I say. Try to keep my voice steady. It's not that I don't trust you, but lately, it feels like we're not on the same page anymore. Emma's reaction catches me off guard. You're being paranoid again, she snaps. Her eyes narrow. It's just a party Olivia's throwing, not some stranger. Why do you always do this? That word always hits hard, makes it sound like I'm constantly suffocating her. But that's not true. I've given her space, trusted her. Lately, though, she's been distant, emotionally and physically. We're under the same roof, but I feel her slipping away. I'm not trying to control you, I say, fighting to keep calm. Something about this party feels off. I don't like it. Can we at least talk about it? Emma rolls her eyes, dismisses me like I'm being petty. Talk about what? You're acting like I'm going to run off with some guy the moment I walk through the door. It's just a night out, for God's sake. That wasn't it. It wasn't just a night out. It was everything that had been building up. The distance, the late nights, the vague excuses. She no longer seemed present when we were together. Feeling like I'm losing her piece by piece, this party feels like a tipping point. Instead of pushing it further, I let her go. Don't know why. Maybe I'm tired of fighting. Tired of feeling like I'm always the one trying to pull us back together. While she seems more eager to drift apart, so when she leaves that night, I don't stop her. But I can't sit still. Hours drag on. Find myself pacing the house, mind racing with things I don't want to think about. The silence is deafening. By midnight, no word from her. No call, no text. Just the cold, empty house. I make a decision, one that would change everything. Grab my phone. Open the tracking app we installed months ago. When she kept losing her phone, follow her location. Feels wrong, invasive. But at that moment, I don't care. Need to know where she is, what she's doing. Need to know the truth, no matter how ugly. The app loads. Her location pops up. Expect to see her at Olivia's house. Maybe a bar nearby. Instead, it shows something that makes my stomach drop. A motel on the edge of town. Stare at the screen, trying to process it. A motel? What the hell is she doing there? My heart races. Anger and dread building inside me. This isn't just a party. Something else is happening. Something I hadn't allowed myself to believe. Without thinking, I grab my keys and head for the door. The drive to the motel feels like it takes hours, though it's probably only 20 minutes. My hands grip the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turn white. Can feel the blood rushing in my ears. My heart pounding harder with every mile. Keep checking my phone, watching the blinking dot that marks Emma's location. Still at the motel. Still there, not moving. Want to turn back, pretend I hadn't seen it? Part of me hopes it's a mistake, that she's there for some completely innocent reason, and I'm just overreacting. But deep down, I know. The distance between us over the past months wasn't my imagination. It wasn't just stress or work. It was something more, something darker. Pull into the parking lot. Park a little away from the building. Don't want to draw attention. Only a few cars, none I recognize. Sit there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, staring at the sign for Westmore Motel. Neon letters buzzing faintly in the night. Place is run down. Kind of spot people go when they don't want to be seen. Cheap, discreet. Perfect for affairs or secrets. Open the app again, thumb hovering over the screen, as if waiting for it to tell me something different. But the little dot hasn't moved. She's still there, in one of those rooms. Room number isn't listed, but I can figure it out. There are only a few possibilities. Get out of the car, walk across the parking lot, trying to steady my breathing, trying not to imagine the worst. Cool night air does nothing to calm me down. Mind races through every worst-case scenario. Images flashing through my head. Emma in a room with someone else, laughing, smiling, doing things she hadn't done with me in months. Walk past a few rooms, each door marked with a faded number. 201, 202, 203. As I near the end of the row, I slow down, heart pounding in my chest, stop at the last few rooms, eyes scanning the parking lot. And then I see it. Her car parked at the far end, tucked away as if she didn't want anyone to see. That's all the confirmation I need. Stand there for a moment, staring at her car, the realization crashing down on me. There's no more pretending, no more excuses. She's here in a motel, and there's no good reason for it. The trust we had is shattered, replaced by something I don't want to acknowledge. Walk up to the door of the room closest to her car, fists clenched at my sides. Room 214. The blinds are closed, faint glow of a lamp spilling out from the edges. Hesitate, my breath shallow. Do I really want to know? Do I really want to see what's behind that door? Yes, I have to. Raise my hand to knock, but stop just inches from the door. Instead, I press my ear against it, listening. At first, there's nothing but silence, then faint voices. Hers laughing softly. A man's voice follows, muffled, but enough to send a surge of rage through me. I don't need to hear more. Without thinking, I bang on the door, hard. The voices inside stop abruptly. I can hear movement. Shuffling, whispers, panic. My mind is racing, my body shaking with adrenaline. I knock again, louder this time. Emma, open the door, I shouted, my voice cracking with anger. For a moment, there's nothing but silence. Then the door opens a crack, just enough for me to see her face. She looks pale, shocked, as if she couldn't believe I was standing there. Her hair is messy, her makeup smudged, like she'd been caught in the middle of something she couldn't talk her way out of. What the hell are you doing here? She hisses, her voice low, her eyes darting around, like she's checking if anyone else is watching. I don't care about the scene. What am I doing here? What are you doing here? I shot back. Pushing the door open wider, I can see the room now. A bed, rumpled sheets, and a man sitting on the edge, looking equally stunned. He isn't anyone I recognize, just some random guy, exactly as I'd feared. Emma steps out, closing the door behind her, trying to block my view. This isn't what it looks like, she says, her voice wavering, but her eyes give her away. She's scrambling, desperate to regain control of the situation. I laugh, the sound bitter and cold. Isn't it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like what it is. Can't believe this is happening. Can't believe how easily she betrayed me. After everything. After all the chances I had given her. She reaches out, trying to grab my arm. Let me explain, she pleads. Her voice shaky, but I pull away disgusted. Explain what, Emma? My voice hard, each word laced with the weight of her betrayal. You're here in a motel with him, I say. She opens her mouth, but no words come. For the first time, she can't lie her way out of it. And that's when I know it's over. There's nothing left to salvage. Everything between us, everything I had held on to is shattered. Do you have any idea what you've done? I ask. Emma's hand drops to her side, the look on her face shifting from shock to something colder. Defensive? Like she's already calculating her next move. The man inside hasn't bothered to come out. He's still sitting there, probably hoping I'd just leave. Too cowardly to face the damage he'd helped cause. This isn't how you think it is, Emma says. Her voice steadier now, like she's trying to take back control of the situation. But it's too late. I've already seen enough. Just let me explain, okay? Can we go somewhere and talk? I shake my head, disbelief and anger churning inside me. Talk? What is there to talk about, Emma? You're standing in front of a motel room with another man. I've been worried sick, thinking something was wrong with us, and here you are, proving me right. She glances back at the door, her eyes flicking toward the guy inside, then back to me. She's panicking. I can see it, trying to think of how to spin this, how to make it seem like less than what it is. It's not what you think. It's just, things haven't been right between us for a while, and I didn't know how to deal with it. To clear your head? Is that what you call this? I interrupt, my voice rising. I don't need to hear your excuses, Emma. You're caught. Don't insult me by pretending this is anything but what it is. She takes a step toward me, her expression softening, like she thinks she can still fix this, manipulate the situation. I'm sorry, okay? I messed up. I know I messed up, but let's go somewhere and talk about this. We can figure it out. Figure it out? The words echo in my head, hollow and meaningless. How is there anything left to figure out when the person I thought I knew had been lying to my face for months? I back up, putting more distance between us. No, Emma, you don't get it. I'm done. There's nothing left to figure out. You made your choice the moment you stepped into that room. You didn't care about us then, and you don't care now. She opens her mouth to say something, but I don't give her the chance. Was it worth it? I ask. My voice lower now, not out of anger, but exhaustion. I feel tired, drained from months of carrying the weight of our crumbling relationship alone. Was it worth blowing up everything we had? Because I'm done fighting for someone who already walked away. For a moment, she doesn't say anything. Her eyes drop to the ground, her facade cracking just enough for me to see the guilt underneath. But the guilt isn't for me. It's for herself. She's sorry she got caught. Sorry, this isn't playing out the way she'd hoped. I didn't mean for this to happen, she whispers, her voice breaking just a little. I didn't think it would get this far. I stare at her, incredulous. Get this far? Emma, you've been lying to me for months. You've been disappearing, making excuses, and I've been sitting at home like an idiot, thinking it was my fault. And now you're telling me you didn't mean for it to get this far? That's all you have to say? She looks up at me, her eyes pleading. Please, I don't want this to be the end. We can fix this. I'll end it with him, I swear. I'll make it right. I laugh, but it isn't out of humor. It's the laugh of someone who has finally reached the breaking point, who realized how far beyond saving things have gone. End it with him? It's already over, Emma. The moment you decided to lie, the moment you chose someone else over us, it was done. You don't get to make it right now. The tears start then. Real or fake, I can't tell anymore. She stands there, wiping at her eyes, trying to look remorseful. But it doesn't matter. The damage is done, and no amount of tears will change that. You need to leave, I say quietly. The anger replaced by exhaustion. Go back inside, do whatever you want, but don't come home. We're done. She shakes her head, panic flooding her face again. Please don't say that. Don't just throw us away like this. Throw us away? I repeat, feeling my anger surge one last time. You already did that. I'm just finishing what you started. I turn and walk away, each step feeling heavier but more certain than the last. I don't look back. I don't want to see the regret on her face. Don't want to hear any more of her lies or apologies. As I get into my car, the weight of it all hits me. It's over. Years of marriage, of love, of trust, gone in a single night. And yet, as I drive away from that motel, I feel something I hadn't expected to feel. Relief. It's like I had been carrying this unbearable weight for months, trying to fix something that was already broken. Now, at least the truth is out. And the fight is finally over. As I drive away from the motel, the weight of the night settles in. Grip the steering wheel hard, knuckles white. City lights blur past. The adrenaline is starting to wear off, leaving behind a numbness that seeps into my bones. Don't feel angry anymore. Don't feel betrayed either. Just feel empty. It wasn't supposed to end like this. Not with some half-hearted apology outside a sleazy motel. Not with Emma pleading for something we both knew was already gone. I'd spent years believing we could work through anything, that whatever rough patches we hit were temporary. But standing in that parking lot, listening to her lies fall apart one by one, I realized something. The Emma I married wasn't there anymore. Maybe she hadn't been for a long time. Pull into the driveway. The familiar sight of our house brings no comfort. It looks the same, but it feels different. This isn't home anymore. It's just a house, a place where two people had drifted apart, pretending they could hold on to something that had died long before tonight. Sit in the car for a few minutes, staring at the front door, knowing that once I step inside, everything will change. Don't have the energy to face it yet. Not the memories, not the silence. So I just sit there, running through the past few months in my head, replaying every moment where I should have seen the signs. The late nights out with no explanation. The way she'd come home and act like nothing was wrong, even though I could feel the distance growing between us. The moments when I'd try to talk to her, try to connect, and she'd shut down, dismissing my concerns like I was imagining things. How long had she been cheating? How long had she been hiding this from me? Can feel the bitterness rising in my chest, but I push it down. There's no point in being angry now. The truth is, I had already lost her months ago. I had just been too stubborn to see it. Finally forced myself to get out of the car and walk inside. The house is dark, quiet, just like it had been when she left earlier that night. Toss my keys on the counter and stand there in the kitchen. The weight of everything crashing down on me. Glance at the clock. It's 2 a.m. She'll be back soon, or at least I think she will. The fight outside the motel had been raw, brutal. But I know Emma well enough to know that she wouldn't just disappear. She'll try to come home, try to explain, to convince me that it was all a mistake, that we can fix it. But I'm done. Walk to the fridge, grab a beer, sink into the couch, staring at the wall as I take a long drink. The taste is bitter, but it doesn't matter. It's like I need something, anything, to cut through the emptiness that's settling in. Think back to the night we first moved into this house. We'd been married for 2 years, still in that honeymoon phase where everything felt perfect. Remember how excited Emma had been, how we'd spent hours unpacking, laughing, talking about the future. We had plans, big plans, kids, vacations, a life we were going to build together. That seems like a lifetime ago now. All I can think about is the look on her face when she'd opened that motel door, the panic, the guilt, but also the lies. Even when she was caught red-handed, she still tried to twist it. Still tried to make it seem like there was something left to salvage, as if we could just sweep it all under the rug and go back to pretending everything was fine. But there's no going back. Not anymore. The front door opens. Hear her footsteps as she walks inside. She pauses in the hallway, probably unsure if I'd still be here. I don't move. Don't say anything. Just wait. Sipping my beer, staring at the wall, knowing what's coming next, she steps into the living room, her eyes red from crying, her face pale. She looks different now, like the weight of what she's done is finally hitting her. But it doesn't matter. The damage is done. She sits down on the chair across from me, not daring to get too close. For a moment, we just sit there in silence, the distance between us feeling like miles. "Can we talk?" she finally whispers. Her voice shaky. I don't respond at first. Don't even look at her. Just take another sip of my beer, letting the silence stretch on until it feels unbearable. "What is there to talk about?" I say quietly. My voice cold, detached. "You've said enough." She looks down, wiping at her eyes. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I swear it wasn't what it looked like." Can't help but laugh, the sound bitter and raw. "It wasn't what it looked like, Emma. I caught you in a motel room with another man. How much worse could it be?" "It was a mistake," she pleads, her voice cracking. "I wasn't thinking straight. I was scared. I didn't know how to fix things between us, and I made a horrible choice. But it's not what you think." Finally turn to look at her, my eyes hard. "You cheated, Emma. You lied. And you're still lying even now. Just admit it. Stop pretending this is something it's not." She flinches at my words, her eyes welling with fresh tears. "I'm not lying. I know it looks bad, but it was a one-time thing. It didn't mean anything. I was lost, and I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know how to deal with everything." Stare at her, the anger boiling inside me again. But it isn't the explosive kind of anger. It's the cold, settled kind. The kind that makes you realize you're done. "It's over, Emma," I say quietly, setting down my beer. "There's no fixing this. You made your choice. Now live with it." She shakes her head, her voice rising in desperation. "Please don't say that. I love you. I don't want to lose you." Stand up, walking toward the hallway. "You already did." As I leave the room, I can hear her sobs, but I don't stop. The truth is out, and now it's time to let go. Walk down the hallway to the bedroom, closing the door softly behind me. Emma's sobs echo faintly from the living room, but I block them out. Sit on the edge of the bed, the weight of everything pressing down on me. It's a strange feeling. Not the explosive anger or heartbreak I had expected, but a hollow kind of finality. I know this is it. The room feels colder than usual, like it isn't mine anymore. My eyes scan the familiar space, the pictures on the walls, the small details of a life we had built together. Photos from vacations, wedding day smiles, moments that at one time felt perfect. But none of it seems real now. It's like looking at someone else's life, someone else's memories. Stare at a picture of us on our honeymoon, a beach somewhere far away, where we'd laughed like nothing in the world could touch us. How did it all fall apart so fast? Or maybe it hadn't been fast. Maybe it had been crumbling for a long time. And I just hadn't noticed until it was too late. Maybe Emma's betrayal was just the final nail in a coffin we'd been building together. Brick by brick, a soft knock on the door breaks through my thoughts. I don't answer, but Emma pushes the door open anyway, her face tear-streaked and pale, like she's desperate to say one more thing. To change my mind. "Can we just talk?" "Please," she whispers. Standing in the doorway, hesitant, as if even she knows there's nothing left to say. Look at her for a moment. The woman I had once loved, the woman I had built a life with. Now she looks like a stranger, someone who had made choices I couldn't understand. Someone who had taken everything we had and thrown it away for a moment of selfishness. "What is there to talk about, Emma?" I say, my voice flat. "You think more words are going to change anything? That we can somehow go back to the way things were? We're past that. Way past it." She steps into the room, her arms wrapped around herself, as if she's trying to hold herself together. "I know I ruined things," she says, her voice trembling. "But I don't want to lose you. I'll do anything to fix this. I'll end it with him. End it? I interrupt, my voice sharper than I intended. "There's nothing left to end, Emma. I don't care about him. I don't care about your excuses. The moment you chose to walk into that motel room, you ended us." Her face crumples at my words, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. "Please," she whispers, her voice breaking. "I love you. I know I made a terrible mistake, but I still love you. We can fix this. I know we can." I shake my head slowly, the sadness in my chest mixing with something colder. "You love me?" I repeat, my voice quiet. "You sure about that? Because it doesn't feel like love. Feels like guilt. And that's not enough to fix what you broke." She collapses onto the bed, burying her face in her hands, her sobs growing louder. But I can't comfort her, can't reach for her like I used to. Because the truth is, I don't trust her anymore. Not after this. Not after what she's done. I stand up, the decision already made in my mind. "I'm leaving, Emma," I say, my voice steady. "I can't stay here and pretend we can fix this. We're done." She looks up at me, panic flashing in her eyes. What do you mean, you're leaving? Where will you go? I don't have an answer. I hadn't thought that far ahead. All I know is that I can't stay in this house. In this life, we built on a foundation of lies. I need to be anywhere but here. I don't know yet, I admit. But I'll figure it out. I just know I can't stay. She stands up, reaching for me, her voice desperate. Please don't go. Don't just walk out like this. We can go to therapy. We can work through this. I'll do whatever it takes. I step back, out of her reach, shaking my head. No, this isn't something we can fix with therapy, Emma. You crossed a line and there's no coming back from it. You made your choice and now I'm making mine. The silence stretches between us, heavy and unbearable. For a moment, I almost regret it. Almost wish I could go back to the days when things were simple, when we were happy. But those days are gone, and pretending otherwise would only drag us both down further. Grab a duffel bag from the closet, throwing in a few essentials, clothes, my laptop, whatever I think I might need for a few days away. Emma watches, her face crumpling with every item I pack. It's like each piece of clothing is a symbol of what I'm taking with me. The final pieces of the life we had shared. When I zip up the bag and sling it over my shoulder, she steps in front of me, blocking the door. You can't just leave, she says, her voice trembling. I love you. Please don't throw us away like this. I meet her eyes, feeling the weight of her words, but knowing deep down that they're too little, too late. I'm not throwing anything away, Emma. You did that. I'm just walking away from the wreckage. Step around her and walk out of the bedroom. The house feels colder, emptier than it ever has. But I don't look back. Don't let myself hesitate. The front door clicks shut behind me, and for the first time in a long time, I feel something like freedom. The moment the door clicks shut behind me, the weight of everything finally starts to lift. It isn't a rush of relief like I'd hoped, more of a quiet emptiness, the kind of silence you only get after a storm, where the wreckage is all around you, but at least the storm itself is gone. Get in my car and sit there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, staring out at the quiet street. Have no plan, no destination in mind. All I know is that I can't stay in that house another second. The life I had built with Emma is over. Now I have to figure out how to rebuild something new, something that doesn't involve her. Drive aimlessly for a while. The street's empty at this late hour. My mind racing but strangely numb at the same time. Have replayed every word we'd exchanged, every plea she'd made, but none of it changes the cold reality of what had happened. She had broken something between us that couldn't be fixed. No matter how many apologies or tears she offered, after about 20 minutes, find myself pulling into the parking lot of a cheap motel. Park in the back. Irony not lost on me, considering where this night had started. But I'm not in the mood for reflection. Just need a place to crash, a place where I can think without the weight of that house hanging over me. The motel is as run down as I'd expected. Fluorescent lights flickering in the hallway, thin walls and the smell of stale smoke clinging to everything. But I don't care. Pay for the room in cash. Check in and walk down the dimly lit corridor, the sound of my footsteps echoing off the walls. When I open the door to my room, it's just as depressing as I'd imagined. Cheap furniture, a bed that looks like it hasn't been comfortable in years, and a flickering TV that I have no intention of turning on. But it doesn't matter. This isn't home. It isn't supposed to be. It's just somewhere I can exist for the night without thinking about what comes next. Toss my duffel bag on the bed and sit down beside it, running my hands through my hair, trying to calm the storm in my head. It's strange. This is the first time in years that I'm truly alone. No Emma. No pretending that we were okay. Just me sitting in a motel room, trying to process how my life had unraveled in a single night. Pull out my phone and stare at it, unsure who to call, if anyone. Mark, my best friend, is probably asleep, and I'm not sure I'm ready to explain everything just yet. Scroll through my contacts, hovering over his name for a moment before putting the phone back down. The truth is, I'm not ready to talk about it. Not yet. Instead, I lean back on the bed, staring at the ceiling, the silence pressing in around me. My mind wanders back to the argument in the bedroom. The way Emma had pleaded with me to stay, to forgive her, to fix things. But what she didn't understand was that some things can't be fixed. You can't just patch over a betrayal like this and hope it'll heal. Trust isn't something you can piece back together once it's been shattered. I had given her everything. Years of my life, my loyalty, my trust, and she'd thrown it away for someone else, for whatever thrill or escape she thought she needed. It wasn't just the act of cheating, it was the lies. The months of distance, the way she had let our marriage rot from the inside while pretending everything was fine. Turn onto my side, the motel bed creaking under me. Try to close my eyes, but sleep won't come. My mind keeps replaying the moment I'd seen her at the motel, the way she had looked at me, the panic in her eyes when she realized she was caught. It's like a broken record in my head, playing over and over, refusing to let me forget. Grab my phone again, scrolling through old photos, Pictures of me and Emma from better days. There's one of us on a hike, smiling at the camera, arms around each other, looking like the perfect couple. It's hard to believe that the people in those photos are the same ones who had stood in that bedroom hours ago, tearing each other apart. I delete the photo, then another, and another. Each picture feels like a lie now, a reminder of what I thought we had but never really did. The more I scroll, the more I realize how much of my life I had invested in someone who wasn't the person I thought she was. Finally put the phone down for good. Just stare at the ceiling, letting the quiet settle in. There's no going back. I know that now. No amount of words or promises could change what had happened. Emma had made her choice, and now I had made mine. This is the first night of my new life, alone. But maybe that isn't such a bad thing. Maybe after everything, it's time to figure out who I am without her. To reclaim the pieces of myself I had lost in the years of trying to hold on to something that was already gone. As I drift into a restless sleep, one thought keeps repeating in my mind, it's over. And this time, I'm not scared of what that means. The morning light filters through the thin curtains of the motel room, casting a pale glow over everything. Wake up, groggy! The stiffness in my neck reminding me that this is no place for comfort. Takes a second for the fog in my mind to clear, to remember where I am and why. The events of last night come rushing back. Feel that hollow ache in my chest again, but it's different now, more distant. Sit up, rub my eyes, glance at the phone next to me. Half expect to see a flood of missed calls and texts from Emma, but there's nothing. Part of me is relieved. Another part wonders if she's given up trying to reach me, or if she's simply waiting for me to come crawling back. But I'm not going back. I know that now. Know I need to talk to someone. Can't keep everything bottled up. Mark. He'd been through his own rough patches before, and he's one of the few people I trust enough to let in on all of this. Grab my phone and scroll to his name. Hesitate for a second before pressing call. He picks up after a couple of rings, his voice groggy but concerned. Hey man, everything all right? Swallow, trying to find the right words. No, I say finally. My voice cracking a little. I left her, Mark. I'm at a motel right now. There's a pause on the other end. The kind of pause where you can tell someone is piecing together the right response. What happened? He asks. His voice softer now, like he knows this isn't just some minor fight. She's been cheating on me, I say. The words coming out bitter and raw. I caught her last night at a motel with some guy. Mark lets out a low whistle, the kind of sound you make when you're trying to process something too big, too awful to really grasp. Damn, I'm sorry, man. I didn't see that coming. Neither did I. I mean, I had my suspicions, but not like this. It's been going on for months. I confronted her, and she kept trying to lie her way out of it. But it's over. I'm done. Mark is quiet for a moment, then asks, "Where are you now?" Some crappy motel on the edge of town. Just needed to get out of the house. I couldn't stay there. You want me to come by? We can grab breakfast or something, talk it through. The thought of having someone there, someone who isn't part of this tangled mess of emotions, feels like a lifeline. Yeah, I say, feeling a small sense of relief. That would help. We agree to meet at a diner not far from where I'm staying. As I get ready, I realize just how much I need this conversation. I can't carry this burden on my own anymore. The drive to the diner is short, but it feels like miles. Like I'm leaving behind the ruins of the life I had built and stepping into something new. It isn't liberation yet, but it's a start. Mark is already there when I arrive, sitting at a booth in the corner with 2 cups of coffee waiting on the table. He waves when he sees me, his expression one of sympathy and concern. As I sit down, he pushes a cup toward me, knowing I'll need it. "So," he says, leaning forward, his hands wrapped around his coffee mug. "Tell me everything." And I do. Tell him about the weeks of distance, the growing suspicion, the lies Emma had spun. Tell him about tracking her to the motel, about the confrontation, about the way she tried to twist it even when she was caught. Lay it all out piece by piece, like unloading a weight I'd been carrying for too long. Mark listens quietly, nodding occasionally, his expression grim. When I finish, he leans back, letting out a slow breath. "Man, I'm sorry, There's no excuse for what she did, but I'm glad you left. You can't come back from something like that." I nod, taking a sip of the coffee. "Yeah, I thought maybe we could fix things, but after last night, there's nothing left to fix." "So what's your plan now?" he asks, genuinely curious. I hadn't really thought about it. I hadn't had time to. "I don't know yet," I admit. "I guess I'll have to go back to the house at some point. Figure out the next steps. Divorce, probably. Move out." The words feel foreign, like they don't belong to me yet. Mark gives me a sympathetic look. "If you need a place to crash, my couch is always open. You don't need to be alone in that house right now." The offer is tempting, and I know he means it. but something in me wants to face it head on. I need to go back, to see the life I had left behind, if only to make sense of it all. Thanks, I say, managing a small smile. I might take you up on that, but I think I need to go back. Just not yet. We spend the next hour talking, not just about Emma, but about everything. Life, work, the small things that feel normal in a world that suddenly doesn't. It's comforting in a way, knowing that even when your life falls apart, some things stay the same. Mark has a way of making things seem simpler, reminding me that this isn't the end. It's just a really painful chapter. As we finish breakfast and step out into the cool morning air, I realize something. I'm not as alone as I thought. I have friends. I have a life outside of the mess with Emma. And for the first time since last night, I feel a flicker of hope. Not the naive hope that things would go back to the way they were, but the hope that I could rebuild, that maybe, just maybe, I could find myself again in the wreckage. You'll get through this, Mark says, clapping me on the shoulder as we say goodbye. You're stronger than you think. I nod, watching him drive away, the morning sun climbing higher into the sky. And as I get back in my car, I realize that he's right. I don't feel strong now. I don't feel like I have any control over my life. But I had made the first step, and sometimes that's all you can do. Sit in my car outside the diner for a moment. Watch the sunlight brighten the world around me. Feels like the first time I've really seen daylight in months, even though it's only been hours since I walked out of that house. Strange sensation, being on the edge of something new, with no clear idea of what the next step will be. But at least I'm moving. That's enough for now. No, I can't stay in limbo forever. There's still the house to deal with. Still Emma. But instead of feeling the crushing weight of all the decisions ahead, feel a sliver of calm. Don't have all the answers, but for the first time, I'm not looking backward. Not thinking about what I could have done differently, or how I'd let things get to this point. What's done is done. Decide to head back to the house. Not because I want to see her, but because I need to start taking back control of my life. Need to face the mess, to confront whatever is left. I'm not the same person who left the night before. That guy had walked out with a heart full of rage and betrayal, still hoping there was a chance for things to change. But now I'm just ready to move on. The drive back feels faster than usual, like my mind has shifted into some higher gear, focused on what has to be done. The house comes into view. Our house, though it no longer feels like ours, it feels like a place where two people had lived, but only one had cared about staying. As I pull into the driveway, I see Emma's car still parked out front. Part of me had hoped she would have left by now, but I know better. She isn't the type to disappear. She'll stay, cling to the possibility of us fixing things, but she doesn't understand. There's nothing to fix. Step out of the car. Feeling the weight of what's about to happen, settle in. Walk up to the front door. Take a deep breath before stepping inside. The air in the house is heavy, thick with the tension from the night before. Emma is sitting at the kitchen table, staring at her phone. But she looks up the moment I walk in. Her eyes are swollen, her face pale. You came back, she says quietly. Her voice hopeful but fragile. Don't respond right away. Just stand there looking at her, trying to reconcile the woman in front of me with the woman I had loved for years. But I can't. Too much has happened. I didn't come back for us, I say finally. My voice steady but cold. I came back to get things in order. She looks down, her hands trembling slightly. I know you're angry. I know I messed up, but we can still... No, I interrupt, cutting her off before she can spin any more fantasies. We can't. We're done, Emma. Last night wasn't just a mistake. It was the truth coming out. You've been lying to me for months, and whatever we had, it's gone. I can't forgive that. She blinks, the reality of my words sinking in. Her mouth opens like she's about to say something, but she closes it again, as if she realizes there's nothing left to argue. I can see the pain in her eyes, but I don't feel sorry for her. She had made her choices. So what now? She asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Sit down across from her, feeling oddly calm. We end this. I'll get a lawyer. We'll split the house, the finances, everything. I'll move out as soon as I can find a place. We don't need to drag this out. She looks down again, nodding slowly. I guess I knew this was coming, she says quietly. But I didn't think it would happen like this. Neither did I admit. Though the truth is, I'd known for a while that something was wrong. I just hadn't wanted to believe it. For the next hour, we talk logistics. It's clinical, almost businesslike. Who will keep the house? How we'll divide the money? What steps we'll need to take to get the divorce finalized? Emma tries to be civil, but I can see the cracks in her composure. Every once in a while, she'll glance up at me, her eyes filled with guilt, like she wants to say something that would fix everything. But she never does. There's nothing left to say. When we're done, I stand up, ready to leave. I'd packed what I needed the night before, and I don't want to stay in this house a moment longer than I have to. As I grab my bag, Emma stands up, her eyes wet with tears again. "I'm sorry," she says softly. "For everything. I never meant to hurt you." Look at her, feeling a strange sense of detachment. The words are meaningless now. They don't change anything. "I know," I say, my voice quiet but final. "But it's too late for that." And with that, I walk out the door, leaving the life we had built behind. Don't know where I'm going yet. Maybe to Mark's place for a few nights. Maybe to a hotel until I find something more permanent. But as I drive away, I realize something important. I'm not looking back. For the first time, I'm not thinking about what I could have done differently, or how I could have saved our marriage. I'm thinking about what comes next, about how I will rebuild. The future is uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it doesn't scare me. It feels like freedom. And that's enough. The house, the memories, the lies, they're all behind me now. All I have to do is keep driving, keep moving forward. And that's exactly what I do. Drive for hours, no real destination in mind. Just need to be away. Away from the house, away from Emma, away from the life that's no longer mine. Finally, pull into a small town I've never been to before. Find a modest hotel. Nothing fancy, but clean and quiet. Check in, drag my bag to the room. Sit on the edge of the bed, staring at the blank wall. For the first time in days, I feel like I can breathe. Pull out my phone. Dozens of missed calls and texts from Emma. Delete them all without reading. There's nothing she can say now that will change anything. Scroll through my contacts. Pause at Mark's name. Consider calling him, letting him know I'm okay. But decide against it. Need this time alone. To think, to process, to plan. Lay back on the bed. Close my eyes. Try to imagine what my life looks like now. Without Emma. Without the plans we made. Without the future we thought we'd have. It's scary, but also liberating. For years I've been living for us. For our relationship. For our shared dreams. Now it's just me, and I realize I don't really know who that is anymore. Open my eyes. Sit up. Grab the notepad and pen from the bedside table. Start writing. Not a letter, not a diary entry. Just ideas. Things I want to do. Places I want to see. Goals I've put off for too long. By the time I'm done, the page is full. And for the first time since I left the house, I feel a spark of excitement. This isn't the end. It's a beginning. A chance to rediscover myself. To build a life that's truly mine. Fold the paper. Tuck it into my wallet. It's a promise to myself. A roadmap to the person I want to become. Get up, walk to the window. The sun is setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It's beautiful. And I realize I can't remember the last time I really stopped to look at a sunset. Too busy, too stressed, too caught up in a relationship that was falling apart. But not anymore. Now I have time. Time to notice the little things. Time to appreciate moments like this. Pull out my phone again. Open the photos. Scroll past all the pictures of Emma and me. Find one from years ago, before we met. It's me standing on a mountain peak, arms raised in triumph, huge grin on my face. Remember that day, the sense of accomplishment, the pure joy of pushing myself to my limits. That's the guy I want to be again. Set it as my new background, a reminder of who I am, who I can be. Walk back to the bed, sit down, pull out my laptop, start looking at job listings in this town and others nearby. Maybe it's time for a fresh start, somewhere new. Somewhere without memories of Emma around every corner. As I scroll through the listings, feel a sense of possibility I haven't felt in years. The future is wide open, and for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to see where it leads. Close the laptop, lean back, take a deep breath. Tomorrow, I'll start making calls, start putting plans in motion. But for now, for this moment, I'm content. Content to be here, in this quiet room, in this unknown town, at the beginning of a new chapter. My chapter. The pain isn't gone. The betrayal still stings. But it no longer defines me. I'm more than what Emma did, more than the relationship we had. I'm me, and I'm ready to find out exactly what that means. Close my eyes, drift off to sleep. And for the first time in months, my dreams are of the future, not the past.